Good morning, everyone. David Atkins, Target Individual. Today I'm going to be back with part two of a two-part series called Neurowarfare and how to throw the computer system off. And of course, I'm going to start with a Bible verse. And yesterday I ended with multitasking. Multitasking will throw it off. It says, and I'm going to go over this real quick. You can defeat remote neuromonitoring attacks by constantly multitasking, thinking about multiple things at once and by ignoring random encounters with strangers you don't know. As such, encounters are engineered by the person in order to solicit emotional response from you, which the remote neuromonitoring system can measure. Now I'm going to stop right there. That's what I covered yesterday if you didn't watch the video yesterday. All right, I'm going to go in the rest of this video is going to be how to throw the system off. Nobody can defeat the system, but you can throw it off, and there's ways. Okay, and I'm going to cover, I'm coming from Psalms 109. You need to read that. Pray it every morning. Very powerful Psalms, especially against gang stalkers in this program. Also, one more thing before I start. You got all these people putting stuff under, if you want your stalking to end, targeting to end, none of these groups will call this, I can get you off the list, I can get all this done, or this person will be posing as a target individual saying, oh, I was targeted for years and this person got me off. Don't fall for it. I know a couple people who's got scammed for $300 or $400. A couple different people saying it, so you ain't getting off this list. And I'm not trying to be negative. And if you are, why would another target individual charge you to help you get off the list? It don't make sense, because if I had the power or figured out some algorithm to stop this thing, I wouldn't be charging for it. I'd give it away for free because I know how it is. All right, here I'm gonna start with this. If y'all are into the Bible and stuff, and I encourage you, if you have not heard about Psalms 109, read it. I'm just reading the last part and this is for my TIs, and then I'm gonna start the information. And this is 109 verse 21. But you, sovereign Lord, help me for your name's sake. Out of the goodness of your love, deliver me. For I am poor and needy. My heart is wounded within me. I fade away like an evening shadow. I'm shaken off like a locust. My knees give way from fasting, and my body is thin and gaunt. I'm an object of scorn to my accusers. When they see me, they shake their heads. Help me, Lord my God. Save me according to your unfailing love. Let them know that it is your hand, that you, Lord, have done it. While they curse, may you bless. May those who attack me be put to shame. May your servants rejoice. May my accusers be clothed with disgrace and wrapped in shame as a cloak. With my mouth I will greatly extol the Lord. In great throngs of worshippers I will praise him, for he stands at the right hand of the needy to save the lives from those who condemn them. And the first part's even better than that. We prayed that this morning. So anyway, here we go. All right, I'm starting on number 2. If you'd like to hear the whole thing about multitasking, go to part 1 and just fast forward it to the end of the video. Towards the end, that's where I talk about multitasking. Spontaneity. Never follow a set pattern of conduct. Always change your behavior every day at a moment's notice. At a moment's notice. Do this when you're quickly on the move, not slowly on the move, as it's more difficult for the remote neuromonitoring system to monitor your thoughts while you're in rapid motion. If you decide to go to the grocery store, go to the convenience store instead. Change it up every day, but don't do the same things over and over, as that establishes a set pattern of conduct. Remember, they're trying to alter your daily motives and emotional perceptions. The remote neuromonitoring system is designed to provoke you emotionally, so they can generate response statistics, which the system will use to determine how to interpret and link descriptions with data captured about your memory references. This is why they're constantly trying to keep you talking, constantly stopping you, asking for directions, etc. So always prolong random encounters with people you don't know. You're not being rude. You're just refusing to allow them to manipulate you. Once they have consistent statistics, the system will use previous choice references and inject them into your subconscious thoughts during normal activity, which is also referred to as impulse injections, to convince you that the response was your own and influencing you into complete or describe the reference by making the appropriate verbalizing or performing a related action, which is known as verification. You can fight and or control this if you learn to defeat these memory attacks by learning to read active memory, Once they see what you respond to emotionally or intellectually, they will fabricate conversational, situational scenarios, street theater, based on events or topics they know will capture your attention. For instance, last night about 10:04, and I got a camera. If you'd like me to show it, some car parked down the street and walked right in front of our house and sat for a minute. About three people sat for a minute just right in front of the house and then walked back to the car. That's street theater. They will fabricate conversation or situation scenarios, street theater, based on events or topics that will capture your attention. For example, you're a football fan that will talk about your favorite team or wear a T-shirt or hat with your favorite football team emblem. So they can't. And the dude that wrote this article was a scientist who helped do this. As far as I understand, he helped build the system. But he said they do this with me a lot, as they know I'm a University of Georgia fan. He said they constantly wear Georgia's hats, pretending to be a Georgia fan from Georgia, in order to try to simulate me towards talking with them and keep me talking to them. This is why the perps try to keep you talking for so long, not just to aggravate you, but to provoke you an emotional response so they can map your thought process in order to get subsequently inject impulses, etc., and control your mind. This is why the feds try to get people close to you, approaching you, befriending you with a hot girl, a handsome guy with so-called honey traps. Here's how you stop that from happening. Ignore all prolonged random encounters with strangers you don't know and be spontaneous. The same remote neural attack can be used to disrupt your speech if the attackers decide to prevent you from discussing a specific topic or repeating a given word. The system can be configured to disrupt your recollection while formulating a related statement or inject gibberish, triggered substitution while you're attempting to speak. The goals of these attacks are threefold: censorship, memory management, direct behavior control. These people are not concerned with legal constraints or any particular acceptable way of life. They simply use anything you enjoy, hate, appreciate to abuse you regardless of your behavior. So if they give you a good compliment, realize they're only doing it to see how you respond when they turn around to negate it and torture you at night. If you keep a constant handle on your state of activity as well as your situational perception, you will recognize conflicting impulses, although it is possible for the system to overpower your impulses. If you understand the attacks, you'll be able to recognize the physical changes resulting from these powerful impulses and should prompt you to reevaluate your current state. Unless you've been tortured to near incoherency, you should be able to fight the system's influence. These remote neural attacks are most effective when you are stepping through sequence tasks, so try to avoid zoning on your activities. How? By changing your actions and activities randomly at the constant speed of thought. Don't always plan out or think out your daily itinerary if you don't have to. Remote neural manipulation is accomplished via their system's ability to interpret your thoughts and is wholly dependent on its ability to predict and influence your reference choices, impulse sequences during thought composition. The system maps patterns with impulses, identifiers, evoke potentials, and uses statistical data about your composition habits to predict how you will think or act as you begin to formulate thoughts and prepare to act. The system's ability to define and map these references intelligibly depends on your cooperation or ignorance, and the attacker's ability to make sense of what they see visually or what they can guess based on your past activity. Quenching. This is another thing you can do. They will constantly run you through a verification routine where the system probes you for a particular set of responses repeatedly in order to establish a pattern. If you're encountering these probes, the operator will vary the routine and attempt to verify via different methods. Once the system verifies the selected responses, they will be used in the next wave of harassment routines. The process is endless, and you will see effects clearly if you consistently defeating them. If you're not defeating the remote neural monitor system, you will not see or notice the effects. The way to defeat the remote neural monitor system is by quenching. You quench remote neural monitoring by interacting with and countering the tactics. None of what these people are collecting could ever be used in a case against you. Every piece of information collected by their system can be considered falsified or fabricated because the system is designed to continuously provide suggestions according to data which has been previously collected about your current activity and accuracy of reference descriptions, definitions is extremely low since attackers really don't care about truth, and the system will fabricate statements or imagery while they're abusing you. The fabrication are generally the result of misinterpretation of references and emotional indicators, as well as distortion of injection feedback. in addition to false entries added manually by the attackers as a result of their inability to understand what they are viewing or their malintent. There's no reliable way for attackers to determine what is true, even if they try to apply their observations to the aforementioned indicators. An attempt to prove guilt with their system would be equivalent to a cop dropping a gun at a crime scene and claiming it belonged to some individual who happened to be passing by, random and falsified. There's no legal application for this system or anything generated by it. They will only capture what they want to abuse you with. When they decide to censor your thoughts, they will force you into abusive or incoherent thought patterns using injection and blocking methods mentioned above. For example, when you experience sudden severe aggression and agitation, it's the perps, not you. It's partial mind control. They injected those impulses. Remember, they want you to keep you constantly thinking about them. You can limit and counter this effect by learning to read memory while blocking their system. However, it takes quite a bit of skill and self-awareness. This is known as redirection. This is the fourth one. Redirection simple. When a remote neural attack happens, impulses and thoughts are introduced into your mind by strong, high frequency attack or slight motivation, low frequency attack. Just change your thread of thought. This hinders the integration completion between your brain and remote knowledge system. You do this by establishing what's known as a working reference. The Bible says whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything, is excellent or praiseworthy. Think about such things. You can thwart their remote neural monitor attacks by establishing a working reference each time they attempt to inject impulses and thoughts to your brain. This is done by recognizing something in life that makes you very happy and then refocusing or redirecting back to that happy experience in life each time you're attacked through remote neural monitoring. If you can do this each day, their attacks will simply be an annoyance to you, and you can work around it, but it will still hinder performance tremendously as you'll be forced to test and validate memory constantly, and the physical sensations of the system radiating in your brain will be both irritating and distracting. Note that these attacks can be performed successfully at lower intensities, and you may initially only notice them via frequently being tested at higher intensities. Torture. Understanding the memory attacks, blocking your real memories and injecting false memories and impulses are key, because if you do not recognize modification of your active memory, the system will cause you to briefly lose time perception, which may be enough procedural disorientation to influence you to respond to an injected impulse. For speech, for example, it is possible for the system to influence you to speak unwillingly or at the very worst without you knowing it. For example, if you're susceptible to the system's influences, you may not realize that it is frequently or constantly influencing you to make minor choices. These impulses can also be used to influence you in a manner that will give you desire to speak. And I emphasize desire because you need to understand that these impulses will only make you feel the urge at higher levels set by the attackers or basic motivation to perform the task it's influencing you to do. Now, in combination with this motivation to speak, the system uses past references to direct you. For example, your personal memory of turning to speak to your wife turning to speak to your wife and the associated impulse when you react to this influence system will block your working memory while streaming the desired output, which will result in you making one or more statements under system control. They will test this on you frequently with a word substitution, and if you can learn to control this in thought, you can control it while speaking out. But you must learn to multitask constantly and to read memory. If you do not have a working reference to return to after the forced speech attack, it is possible that you will have no recollection of making a statement. If you have a hard time understanding how remote neural monitoring works, just think of how the lie detector works. In theory, remote neural monitoring functions in a similar manner to a lie detector by measuring physiological responses emitted by the body. In remote neural monitoring, it is those physiological responses emitted via electromagnetic impulses by the brain. As you learn to defeat the predictive capabilities of the system, quenching, redirection, multitasking, and spontaneity, their attempts to restrict your reference choices will become increasingly evident. You begin to perceive what I'll describe as function duality. It might also be described as focal duality. Within your working memory, the perp system's prediction error rate will dramatically increase, and its attempts to predict your thoughts and intention will become humorous, if not annoying. And tomorrow, I'm going to come back and talk about thought-triggered attacks. Um, and finish this series up. So really, it'll be a three-part series. But I'm going to go over this real quick though, and the reason I'm so set on exposing this stuff is, man, I know a lot. I hope a lot of new targets are watching me because if I'd have known this years ago, man, I went crazy years ago. I cut my throat, my wrist. I took Tylenol pills and was in a coma 5 days. I would never do that now. I would never do suicide. And you're talking about a man's getting death threats and everything. But I'm gonna stand my ground and keep working through this program. We get deal with the torture. I woke up today, had to put a Mylar blanket on, and you got to switch it up with your shielding too. And I wouldn't go buy no expensive shielding. I wouldn't because I've heard many people say it don't work. They can defeat any shielding and anything. The important stuff here is from here, and this came from a couple targets that's been targeted a long time that gave me this information and told me it works. Multitasking. Learn how to multitask because I'm just going to go over these four one more time. Learn how to multitask. It causes you to think in multiple threads. Spontaneity. Never follow pattern conduct. Always change your behavior every day at moments. Do this when you're quickly, not slowly on the move, as it is more difficult for the remote neural monitoring system to monitor your thoughts while you're in rapid motion. Then you have quenching. Quenching. Okay. You quench remote neural monitoring by interacting and countering their tactics. And the last one is redirection. So redirection is like if they're injecting some kind of negative thought or they're controlling you with speech or something, think something happy, some happy time you had. Just focus on it. I know all this stuff's easier said than done, especially when you're getting burned up by dews and you got that vibration, electric sensation going through your body, and I know, but uh, I I've actually tried some of this and it does work. Now it is easier said than done when your mind's on getting burnt and all that stuff, but if you just focus on it, you can do it. Um, and I and it does work, but you'll never defeat it 100%. I don't think. But you never know. Some TI might come up with some invention to block it all, and I hope someone out there is working on something like that. Oh, so tomorrow I'm going to be talking about thought triggered attacks and finish this up. But I did finish it up basically. Um, I finished up the series, but tomorrow I'm going to talk about thought trigger. I might talk about it. I might talk about something else. But anyway, God bless y'all. And remember, man, if you see somebody, oh, I was a target individual and so got me off the list, don't listen to them. It's a scam. God bless y'all. Have a good day.